מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה לך על קודשך ליראתך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מעון ביתך, ומקום משכן כבודך, משכן כבודך. ואני אשתחווה ואקרא אברך לפני אדוני עושי. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, אלוהים ברוב חסדך, ענני באמת אישך. מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו, מה טובו, מה טובו, אוהליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל, משכנותיך ישראל.
Shalom, my name is Peter Talhofer and this is my son,
Kellan.
and we are here to teach you how to read Torah in Hebrew. It worked for us, it's worked for others. This plan will work for you. Our hope is that you will learn to love reading Hebrew and you will grow in knowing God's written word, Torah, and his living word, Yeshua. You can find how to do this at torahinmyheart.com. Go to the videos page, which looks like this. And our two resources are Danny Ben-Gigi's Hebrew-English Phonetic Bible, available through my website, and the Accordance Bible app, ESV with Strong's. These two tools are all you need to learn to read Torah in Hebrew, plus a lot of work. When you put in that work, you will find gems and treasures that were never visible in the English and are only visible by reading the Hebrew, and reading the Hebrew carefully. It's always helpful to join a group or find a friend to do this with. Kellan and I encourage each other. Find someone to encourage you, and someone whom you can encourage. Hebrews 8:10 says that in the new covenant, God is going to write his law on our hearts. This is quoted, and that whole passage is quoted directly from Jeremiah 31, where in verse 33, God says that in the new covenant, he's going to write his law on our hearts. But the Hebrew word there for law is Torah. Now, I've talked with a lot of people about this over the years, hundreds of conversations. Someone that many of you know has a very popular website for Christians for studying the Bible, just recently posted that what's really being talking about here in the New Covenant is the Torah of Yeshua, the Torah of Jesus. Not the Torah of Moses, but the Torah of Yeshua is what's to be written on our hearts. That actually doesn't work, because in the Sermon on the Mount, chapters 5, 6, and 7 of Matthew, Yeshua is talking about the Torah of Moses. First off, it's not his Torah, because as far as we know, Yeshua never wrote anything. And he says, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of the pen will by any means disappear from Torah until all has been accomplished. He then goes on to make the Torah even more difficult, because it's not just outwardly keeping Torah, but in our hearts and in our minds. What we do in our inside is also part of keeping Torah. Later in chapter 7, he says that he will say to those who are lawless, away from me. And the word for lawless there is anomia, which means against the law. Now, he spent the entire Sermon on the Mount talking about the Torah of Moses. So when he's talking about those who are against Torah, anomia, that would be against the Torah of Moses, not some other thing. Also, the whole context is that Yeshua was speaking in was Jews of the first century, and Torah really only had one meaning for them. I'll give you an example. For centuries now, scientists have referred to the brain as the source of thinking in the human body. Scientists have known that it's the brain that directs the rest of the body for centuries. Only in the last few decades has it become an expression that a computer is a brain. Like, people even joke about their smartphone, I left my brain at home, okay? Because the computers are so smart. Now, if we took this modern idea of brain, meaning a computer or a smartphone, and put that into the words of a scientist from, say, 300 years ago, that wouldn't make any sense, because they didn't know about computers 300 years ago. And so if you say, when he's talking about the brain, he means computers, it just wouldn't make sense. And when Yeshua is talking about Torah, all that the disciples and his hearers would think of is the Torah of Moses. So we can't say that it's something besides the Torah of Moses that's supposed to be written on our hearts in the new covenant. Now Kellan is going to read the first verse of our Torah portion, Toldot, Genesis 25, verse 19, word by word.
Ve'ele.
It's translated, and these are. The vav is and ele is these. You see there's no r in the Hebrew. Hebrew has past tense verb to be, which is haya, that's was, and it has future tense verb to be, yihye, will be, but the present tense is, are, like we say in English, are not in the Hebrew.
Toldot Yitzchak.
Generations of Isaac. This is a word pair or a construct chain. And we're going to look at a short video right now by eTeacher Biblical, which I really recommend you look at their videos. They're really well done.
Shalom, welcome to
eTeacher Biblical.
My name is Sigal. We will learn about the construct chain. This is going to be in lesson number 12. What is a construct chain? We are talking about two nouns or more, and you can find one modifier, one central nuclear noun. We can very clearly see a demonstration of a wood chest. So let's discuss a little bit this structure. You can clearly see that English may use two different structures. You may use a wood chest, or you may use a chest of wood. But Hebrew really likes the second one, the chest of wood, because if you will follow this order, you will maintain the Hebrew order. Why am I saying that? Because a chest in Hebrew is aron and wood is etz. But you can clearly see something is missing in Hebrew. We don't have the word of. Still, it really describes the same relationship, something of something. So if you want to make sure you are in the right structure, try to use this tip. Something of something. Again, you may find several nouns, more than two. Now let's go to our next slide and understand why this structure is so important in Hebrew. First of all, what might happen in Hebrew, there may be some vowel changes when you have this structure. So on top of the meaning of something, you may see something that, like here in this slide. If you would go and look in the Bible for the word son, which is ben, you may find it either way, either with segol or with tsere. The one with the segol would be translated as son of, and then you would know that this is within the construct chain. The one with the tsere would be your absolute form. It would be just a son or son. This goes for every structure where you see changes. Let's see another example for the word sea, yam suf, or the sea of reeds. I know in the Latin translations you may see some translations like the Red Sea, but altogether in Hebrew we are dealing with the sea of reeds. Suf in Hebrew is reeds. And going back to our construct chain, you can see that you may find the word sea either with patach or with kamatz. The one with patach would be translated as sea of. So the one with kamatz would be translated as just sea, the absolute form. Let's go to the text. Genesis 27:17. ותיתן את המטעמים ואת הלחם אשר עשת ביד יעקב בנה. Can you figure out where is your construct chain? Look at the English and you may find the hand of Jacob. That's exactly what will lead you also to the Hebrew structure. Yad Yaakov, the hand of Jacob. So that's appearing in the third line and highlighted in brown. So very well done, kol hakavod, and I will be seeing you in our next lesson. להתראות, see you.
That was eTeacher Biblical video number 12. If you go to number 13, they discuss plural construct chains and many other good videos I recommend you watch. The root of Toldot is Yalad. We're going to see that root again later, so remember that.
Ben Avraham.
Another construct chain with the sagol vowel, just like Sigal said in that video. The sagol vowel under the bait of Ben means it's a construct chain. Literally, son of Abraham, but we normally translate that Abraham's son.
Avraham.
In English, there would be punctuation between the two Avrahams, but in Hebrew, you've got to figure out that punctuation on your own. So this is the start of a new phrase, could be the start of a new sentence.
Holid.
And there is the root Yalad again. Down at the bottom, we see Toldot, which had the root Yalad, means generations. Here we have Yalad, which is the actual word and root, meaning to beget, and Yeled, boy, and Yalda, girl, both come from the root Yalad, to beget. The verb here, yalad, is in the he-fil form. A clue to that is the he before the root, holid. If we go to our chart, we see that he-fil is causative, active. If you can't think of a word to change the root into, you can always say cause to. In this example, cause to beget. But we have an English word for that, fathered. So yalad, beget, is translated here, fathered, because he caused to beget.
Et Yitzchak.
Et is the pointer to the direct object, and Yitzchak is the direct object. Whom did Avraham beget? The et points to it, Yitzchak. When you have translated and correctly pronounced each word, then do it without any help.
Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak ben Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. These are the generations of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham fathered Isaac.
Took me about 3 years or longer to be able to say Yitzchak. Give that one a practice. Next week, our Torah portion is Vayetze, beginning with Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. Now, we're going to look at some more verses from this Torah portion, Toldot, Genesis chapter 27, verses 1 through 6.
Vayehi ki zaken Yitzchak vatich hena einav merot vayikra et Esau beno hagadol vayomer elav beni vayomer elav hineni. And he was old, Isaac, and it was failing his eyes from seeing. And he called to Esau, his greater son, and he spoke unto him, My son. And he said to him, Here I am. Vayomer hinena zakanti lo yadati yom moti. And he spoke, Behold, please, I am old, and I do not know the day of my death. Ve'ata sana chelecha telecha v'kashtecha v'tze hasade v'tzuda li atzayid. And now, take please your instruments, your quiver and your bow, and go unto the field and hunt some venison. Va'ase li ma te'amim ka'asher ahavti ve'havia li ve'ochela ba'avur tevarechecha nafshi beterem amut. And make for me the delicious morsel which I love, and bring it to me, and that I may eat, in order that I may bless you with my soul before I die.
That word nafshi there, the root is nephesh. And this is where we've got a really good video by the Bible Project.
For thousands of years, every morning and evening, Jewish people have prayed these well-known words as a way of expressing their devotion to God. They're called the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And as for you, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. We're going to look at the word soul. The Hebrew word is nephesh. It occurs over 700 times in the Old Testament. The common English translation of this word is soul, and that's kind of unfortunate. Here's why. The English word soul comes with lots of baggage from ancient Greek philosophy. It's the idea that the soul is a non-physical, immortal essence of a person that's contained or trapped in their body to be released at death. It's a ghost in the machine kind of idea. This notion is totally foreign to the Bible. It's not at all what nephesh means in biblical Hebrew. The most basic meaning of nephesh is throat. Like when the Israelites are wandering in the wilderness, they're hungry and thirsty, and they say to God, we miss the cucumbers and melons we had in Egypt. Now our nefesh has dried up. Or when Joseph was hauled off into slavery in Egypt, his nefesh was put into iron shackles. But nefesh doesn't only mean throat. Since your whole life and body depend on what comes in and out of your throat, nefesh could also be used to refer to the whole person. Like in Genesis, there were 33 nefesh in Jacob's family, that is, 33 people. In the Torah, a murderer is called a nefesh slayer, and a kidnapper is called a nefesh thief. On the first pages of the Bible, both humans and animals are called a living nefesh, and if the life breath has left a human or animal, the nefesh remains. It's just called a dead nefesh, that is, a corpse. So, in the Bible, people don't have a nefesh, rather, they are a nefesh, a living, breathing, physical being. Now that might surprise you because most people assume the Bible says the soul is what survives apart from the body after death. And while the biblical authors do have a concept of people existing after death, waiting for their resurrection, they rarely talk about it. And when they do, they don't use the word nefesh. So even though nefesh is often translated as soul, the Hebrew word really refers to the whole human as a living physical organism. In fact, this is why biblical people can often use this word to refer to themselves, and it gets translated me or I. Like in Psalm 119, most translations read, "Let me live that I may praise you." In Hebrew, the poet literally says, "Let my nefesh live that it may praise you." By using nefesh, the poet emphasizes that their entire being, their life and their body, offer thanks to God. In the Song of Songs, the young woman constantly refers to her lover as the one my nefesh loves. And of course, love isn't just an intellectual experience, it's an emotion that activates your whole body, your entire nefesh. This helps us understand the brilliance of other biblical poets who could combine multiple meanings of nefesh in one place. Like in Psalm 42, we read, "As the deer pants for the water, so my nefesh pants after you. My nefesh thirsts for the living God." So, on a physical level, your throat can be thirsty, like a deer's, but then that physical thirst can become a metaphor for how your whole physical being longs to know and be known by your Creator. Which brings us all the way back to the Shema. To love God with all of your nefesh means to devote your whole physical existence to your Creator, the one who granted us these amazing bodies in the first place. It's about offering your entire being with all of its capabilities and limitations in the effort to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. And that's the Hebrew word for soul.
So don't think like a Greek when reading Hebrew scriptures.
ורבקה שומעת בדבר יצחק אל עשיו בנו, וילך עשיו השדה לצוד ציד להביא. And Rebekah heard the words of Isaac to Esau, his son. And he went Esau to the field to hunt venison and to bring it back. ורבקה אמרה אל יעקב בנה לאמור, הנה שמעתי את אביך מדבר אל עשיו אחיך לאמור. And Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I have heard your father speaking unto Esau your brother, saying.
We encourage you to keep reading this passage because this sets up a deception which goes on for years afterward. Here Jacob is intending to deceive his father Isaac with a goat skin, making him think that he's Esau. Later, Jacob's sons will deceive him with a slaughtered goat, making him think that his son Joseph is dead. Then later, Judah will be deceived with a goat involved, thinking that his daughter-in-law is a prostitute. And when he finds out that she's pregnant, he'll try to have her killed. And then he'll find out, as he says, she is more righteous than I. So this is what goes around comes around, starting right here. Deception with a goat. There's also an Aleph Beta video you might want to check out called Goats and Coats. Now 4 verses from Isaiah beginning with chapter 24, verses 4 and 5, and then chapter 25, verses 8 and 9. Avla navla haaretz, lela navla tevel, lalu marom am haaretz. Mourns, withers the earth, languishes, withers the world, languishes the highest people of the earth. Vehaaretz chanfa tachat yoshveha, ki avru torot, chalfu chok, heferu barit olam. And the earth is polluted under its inhabitants, for they have transgressed Torah. They have changed the statutes. They have broken the everlasting covenant. That word chanfa there is pollute or defile, and here the earth is polluted because of its inhabitants. We tend to think that the earth is polluted by chemicals or litter, which it is, but its inhabitants can pollute it by things that they do. They have transgressed Torah. Today many people say that Torah does not matter anymore. They have changed the statutes. The first time this word chalaf is used in Torah, it's when Jacob complains that his father Laban has changed his wages 10 times. Today, people have changed statutes. For thousands of years, marriage was between a man and a woman. A couple of years ago, the United States Supreme Court said, no, not anymore. Marriage can be between other people besides a man and a woman. They have broken the everlasting covenant. And from a Torah perspective, the everlasting covenant of Sinai is Torah and Shabbat. Bila hamavet lanetzach umacha Adonai Elohim dim'a me'al kol panim vecherpat amo yasir me'al kol haaretz ki Adonai diber. He will swallow up death forever and wipe out the Lord Hashem a tear from every face, and the reproach of his people he will turn aside from all the earth, for Hashem has spoken. That word there, bilah, is in the PL form. If you look at the chart, that's intensive. So what would be a word for intensively swallowing? You might say gobble up or rip into. So God's just going to tear up death. Ve'amar bayom hahu hine Eloheinu ze kivinu lo ve'yoshi'enu ze Adonai kivinu lo nagila ve'nismecha bishu'ato. And it will be said in that day, behold, our God, this is the one for whom we waited, and he saved us. This is Hashem in whom we waited for him. We will rejoice and be glad in his salvation. See these two words that have the root yasha, meaning to save. The first is, and he saved us. Vav is and then the normal understanding of a root is third person, singular, masculine, past tense. So just by using the root yasha, it means he saved. And then nu is us. So and he saved us. The second one is a noun based on yasha, in salvation his. The beit means in, the yeshuat is salvation, and the O means his, so in his salvation. That's what it's like reading Isaiah. We had the first two verses talking about the destruction of the earth, and we had these two verses just a chapter later talking about God's salvation. It's up and down like that. It's death and destruction and blessing and salvation in the book of Isaiah. Normally what we do right now is we have Kellan or me read the Avinu, and we tell you to go to aprayertoourfather.com, but I've made a little video showing my computer screen so that you can see why we recommend this. Here is the web page, aprayertoourfather.com. If you go down to this row right here, click the media button, go to audio and click Learn the Prayer in Hebrew. That brings you to this page, which has the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew, the Avinu. Here you have the transliteration, and then down here is the Hebrew. If you click on one of these words, two things happen. It pronounces the word, and the English translation shows up below, like this.
Avinu, Sheba Shemayim, Yitkadesh Shimcha, Vayitbarech Malchutcha, Retzoncha, Yihye, Asui, Bashemayim, Uva'aretz, Vetitain, Lachmenu, Temidit, Umachol, Lanu, Chatotenu, Kaasher, Anachnu, Mochalim, Lachotim, Lanu, Vi'al, Tevi'enu, Lide, Nisayon, Deshomrenu, Mikol, Ra. Amen.
And that's how you can learn to read the Avinu, the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father, in Hebrew, the way Yeshua would have taught it to his disciples. We're going to close now with a 5-minute video about the fulfillment of prophecy that the vines would return to Judea and Samaria. And you know, it's happening right here in our day. And some of you, I know, have gone to Israel to work with Hayovel and to bring these grapes in. It's a miracle. It's a fulfillment of prophecy. It's happening right now in our time. So what a blessed time to be alive and to see these things happening. And now, until next week, when we do Torah portion Vayetze, Kellan and I are saying goodbye and
Shalom!
In the times of the Bible, the promised land of milk and honey was Judea and Samaria. And the greatest symbol of this promise was the vineyard. For centuries, these regions were covered with vibrant, fertile grapevines. But after the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the Romans uprooted the vines and took them to Italy. For nearly 2,000 years, no vineyards existed on these mountains. But in the late 1990s, a few Jewish men came here with a goal to change that. Men like Yaakov Berg.
2,000 years ago, Israel known like the best wine country in the ancient world. The Roman Caesars, the Greeks, they brought their best wine, not from Italy, not from French. They brought it from here, from Israel. But for 2,000 years, the land was desert. It was impossible to grow something on those lands. And actually a lot of people tried, and they couldn't succeed. I born in Russia, and I came to Israel when I was 3 years old. It was always my father's dream to touch the land, to grow something. You know, if you will ask my father, do you believe that your son will own a vineyard or a winery in Israel, back then in Russia? I mean, he will cry or laugh, but for sure he's not going to believe to that. I remember when we started to plant the vineyards, everything it was rock. We need to drill into the rock in order to plant the vines. Everybody says, all the experts says, it's not going to work. Nothing will grow here. I don't think it's something that we can really understand. It's not that we changed the land, it's not that we brought a new soil or something like that. The land really came back to herself. It's like a dead man that came back to life.
grapes Yaakov harvests to create his wines come from very special places. Elon Moreh, where God made his promise to Abraham. The Mount of Blessing, where Joshua said, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And Shiloh, where the Ark of the Covenant rested. The harvesters who pick these grapes are neither Israeli nor Jewish. Each year, hundreds of Christian volunteers from around the world travel to Israel to prune the vines and harvest the grapes of Jewish farmers in Judea and Samaria at no cost to the farmers.
The Bible promises three main things. First of all, that the Jewish people will come back to their homeland. Second, that the land will come back to us. And from the moment that we came back, it's become a heaven. The third thing that many people really forgot, they don't see it. But the Bible talks about it many times, all over. That the entire world will come and will participate and will try to help. It's unbelievable. When I see it, I'm crying. The fact that we came back here, okay, but why? Somebody that lives so far away, thousands of kilometers from here, would like to know what's going on, would like to support, would like to be with us, that we will walk together, you know. I think this is the biggest miracle that God gave us in, I don't know, the last 20, 30 years. Everybody that will come to Israel, touch the land and touch the people, it will change his life. Each one of us looking for something deeper than just the regular life. I believe and I feel and I know that in Israel, maybe it's the best place on earth to really feel it, to understand it. It's easier than all the rest of the world. To me, Israel, it's the best proof God exists and still acting in our world. I don't think you can find a better proof. I'm Yaakov Berg, and I am Israel.